This is music, and this is a bunch of guys with really weird names. Welcome to another episode of Tapeworm Terror, where I just talk about the cassette tapes in my collection of physical music media. This is kind of like a new thing that I started, sort of taking an interest in cassette tapes. So this time we're going to have a look at Hell Possessions. Phantom Aggressor is the name of this tape. It's a 3-track. It's hard to see, but it's a 3-track tape, and it's out on Dying Victims Productions. The tape itself is a very dark purple. Looks more blue on camera, but it's a very dark purple, and it has, if I can create a glare, you can see that it has some print on it. A monster that also appears on the cover artwork. The band logo, the title, and side A, and the Dying Victims Productions logo. On side B, it's the same thing, except it says B to show that it's side B. Now it's actually a double A side. You got the same 3 tracks on both sides. And the thing is, while I think the deep purple, which is technically what it is, this color, very dark purple, is very cool. When you look at it with the naked eye, it's actually very difficult to see the print, the graphics on the tape itself, which is a bit of a shame because it looks kind of cool. Maybe had they printed it in white, it would have been easier to see. Because it's a double A side, doesn't really matter what if you're, you don't need to know if it's side A or side B is what I'm trying to say. And of course, seeing that it's black, that it's sort of like a shadowy figure in black, that of course that's kind of cool too. I would probably have preferred it printed in a lighter color. It doesn't have to be white, but I don't know, some other light gray or something. But I can see how this actually does kind of look cool. Now, the monstrous figure is this figure here from the front cover artwork on the J card. Of course, you got the title here, another Dying Victims Productions logo. You have lyrics for 2 of the songs, because the first one doesn't have lyrics, it's an instrumental. And then you have a pictures of the band members. And the reason why I said that it's a bunch of dudes with weird names is they've picked out some pretty fun, I think, pseudonyms. So the vocalist calls himself Fistbanger. I don't know if that's his legal name. The drummer also plays the guitars. So the drummer / guitarist is called Evil Attacker. Again, I don't know if that's his legal name. I don't think it is. And the bass player who also plays the guitars is called Evil Killer. So either these are pseudonyms or these guys need to have some serious conversations with their parents. 3 tracks on it. The first one, Gates of Doom, is an instrumental, and it's more like an intro track, which is very different from the 2 other tracks, because it's an atmospheric track. It's synth based, so it's like I think 80s horror movies themed, kind of like synth, sounding like the soundtrack maybe from an old 80s, maybe even 70s horror movie, with sort of like an organ sounding synth. You got thunderclaps in the background, you got the storm, you got the rain, you have some satanic kind of demonic spoken word, whispers. So it sets the scene pretty well, because these guys, the lyrical content for the most part has to do with horror. The actual style, of music that you hear in 2 other tracks, Poltergeist and Lord of Hate. That is sort of like this, shall we call it, revivalist, blackened thrash speed metal. So really fast, up-tempo, fast drum beats, fast riffing, very often just sort of like palm muted tremolo picking. But occasionally they do sort of break down, and you know, there's some actual pretty cool thrash riffs that pop up every now and then. The bass is audible, which I really like, and sometimes you got some bass breakdowns, so that's pretty cool as well. So the 2 songs are actually pretty cool. I think I enjoyed listening to them. The vocals are, I wouldn't say they're black metal vocals, but they are very inspired by maybe kind of like Teutonic thrash. I wouldn't say German death thrash, but maybe sort of just a step below that. So like early German thrash metal with a sort of harshy, but in a slightly higher register, harsh vocals. They've gone with the aesthetic where the vocals are not drowned, but there's a lot of reverb on the vocals, and I think maybe that's something they either picked up from black metal or maybe from sort of the general production of the mid 80s that did have a lot of reverb, I think. So that makes the vocals slightly more atmospheric, but not completely. Personally, I would have preferred without all the reverb, but I get the point. I see why they do it, so it doesn't detract from the listening experience. The production itself is, it's not raw, but it's not polished either. But it's not thin or tinny. Sometimes the guitar tone in particular ends up sounding tinny when people go for like a sort of a retro underground feel. That's not the case here. The bass is audible, as I said, so the production is actually pretty good. The only sort of beef I have with it is just that they've added the reverb to the vocals, but you know, I can live with it. So it's a pretty good 3-track extreme metal, if you consider blackened speed thrash to be extreme metal. So that was another episode of Tapeworm Terror. Thanks for watching.